to the channel, guys. Welcome back. I don't know why I do this, but welcome back to the channel. We wanted to do something today that we find very important that a lot of people don't do, and we think it's important for even the pros to take a look back at this, because a lot of pros don't even do this all the time. And this is why you see certain lane transitions on tour the way the guys are bowling super far left, because no one really takes the time to do this anymore like I feel like they did back in the day. Yeah,
preserving the lane is probably one of the most not taught things going on when it comes to preparing yourself for success on the lanes. And when we talk about preserving the lane, it's not necessarily you have to be all the way to the right in practice and throw there for 8 minutes. It's some sort of a strategy to it, and that can vary between different patterns that you're bowling on. If you're looking for, to create some hold on some flatter patterns, it's not maybe necessarily you would throw all surface and not do any kind of holding procedure. So there's different kind of ways, but we have a pattern out today that we're going to attack. It is the 45-foot dragon pattern, and we're going to show you guys how to properly break it down, and maybe this will kind of give you an idea of maybe things that you need to try when it comes to your local house shot tournaments, house shot leagues, or regular tournaments. Maybe this can change your idea of how to break the lane down and set it up for yourself.
Yeah, this doesn't always have to be on a sport shot, because when you think of a house pattern, I hear this all the time, is like, oh, my house pattern, it doesn't hook at all. So that just tells you don't have enough free hook to the right. So you can use the same thing on those certain centers that where the house shot just doesn't hook. You can create that hook for yourself the same way as the lane would give it to you automatically.
Yep.
It just takes a little bit more time in practice to make sure you do that, so that way you can set yourself up for those higher scores in league as well.
Yeah.
The first thing you're going to do to know how to break down the lane is obviously you have to know what pattern you're bowling on. But even if they just tell you it's a long pattern, that's fine too. But we obviously know we're bowling on 45 feet. So you're going to take the length of the pattern and minus 31. So that's the pattern length minus 31. That's going to give you your break point. So that's going to give you an idea of where your ball is exiting the pattern and is going to have the highest chance of striking on that pattern. Now, like Nate said, it could be where you need some hold on certain patterns on the inside of that break point, but for this particular pattern, we're gonna need some hook to the right. We don't want our line that we're throwing in practice to be on that particular break point. We want it to be right of that. So we can create some extra hook to the right of that, so we do have some miss room to the right of that break point, and we don't have to hit it perfectly down lane.
Yeah, and also some patterns, allow you to play a certain zone, and that zone can develop, so you might be able to start further right in that zone and then creep to the left in order to get your ball to go through the front part of the lane and retain energy and go through the pins the right way. So depending on how flat the pattern is, depending on how much ratio it is, it can vary. Your break point can vary. Yeah. But doing the PL minus 31 is definitely a good starting point, and then you can obviously, like Elise said, develop something to the right of that, so that when you get in and it's time to get into that part of the lane, your ball will start doing the right thing.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, since we know we're bowling on 45 feet and I know I need more of the oil to be taken up off of the lane where I'm going to be starting to do this transition, is I'm going to take my biggest ball, so my one ball, which is going to be my most aggressive, the ball that I normally don't stay in as long, especially for someone with my speed. I just won't throw this ball normally unless we're bowling on a lot of volume. So I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to put 1,000 on it.
Now mind you guys, yes, there is a towel above it, but there is an Abralon pad on the inside. So we're just using that towel in order to get the dust off the ball and have a place for it to go.
Now remember, you do need to apply your surface all over the bowling ball. And then you're going to want to wipe it off before you throw it. Yeah, Nate's going to do the same. He's throwing his Eternity Pie.
Yep. And just being aware of your surroundings, like, the place that you're bowling at. You may just not need to apply as much, surface. So for here, for example, they tend to hook a little bit in the front part of the lane and middle part of the lane. So I'm not going to absolutely slam my bowling ball, but I'm aware that, of how this building reacts. I've bowled here plenty of times. So, going to another building that you're familiar with, you may need more or less.
So since we're bowling on 45 feet dragon, I know that my break point needs to be around 14. Okay, so now that means I don't necessarily need to break down the gutter, because if you're trying to throw it to 5 on this pattern, even if it does hook back, your carry's probably not going to be really good. We really only need to break the lanes down about 3 to 4 boards right of where we're actually trying to play. You do not need to have 6 boards down lane, nor is the lane going to give it to you even if you break it down. So for me, when I try to break down the lanes, I try to stand exactly where I'm trying to throw it, so that way it's directly straight off my hand. I'm not trying to give it any belly, I'm just trying to throw it directly up the line.
Alright, so being a higher rev rate player, higher side than Elise, I'm gonna probably create just a little bit more shape so I can develop a little bit of shape in the pattern. When you're breaking down a pattern, it's kind of like you're painting a picture of where you want the ball to slow down and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to do, since I have a little bit more rev rate, I'm gonna just create a little bit of shape in the pattern so that way when I migrate left off of it, that I still have that shape that I can throw to.
Okay, so you might be thinking that I only get 3 to 4 shots in practice. Remind yourself that in 5 shots, a lane always changes. So every time someone throws 5 shots on the lane is transitioning. So even if you can only get like 3 to 4 shots doing this in practice, it's gonna help you immensely going into the game.
Yeah, and I know that you guys saw some of my shots striking, and then I threw the next one that kind of went high, but I didn't miss by much. So that's just telling me that, yeah, you guys saw some strikes, but this part of the lane is probably not the part of the lane that I want to be in, so it's a good place to break it down so that when I do move left and I get it to that same spot, that it's going to act properly. I still have enough hold through the middle, and I have a hook to the right.
And it also allows him to ball down into a weaker ball that's not going to burn up so early, so it also preserves carry long term. Might be okay, that's a decent ball reaction because I got to the pocket, I 4-pin, I 10-pin. Now that last one I did strike, I did miss it a tiny bit off my hand, but you can see it was still lazy and I barely got the 10 out. So now this is where I would probably ball down. So I am gonna go to a symmetric ball. We're gonna see how it works at this surface, but this is where I might need to put a little bit of surface on it, but we're gonna see if I can move a little bit back right and still get the ball to go through the pins back. As you can see there, I'm still a little bit straighter, but now because I've made that friction to the right of where I want to throw, honestly, I didn't think that was going to hook back. So that tells me that one, we broke down the lane good, because now I have that bounce to the right, but I still have the oils to the left as soon as I need to move in and still hook it a little bit.
All right, so as you get more advanced into bowling, there could be several different ways to attack this. So I'm just going to show you guys 2 ways to attack it. So the first one, since we developed hook to the right, like Elise was doing, we could probably stay in that area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be a little bit softer with my hand, still have forward ball roll, and see if we can get to the pocket consistently. Alright, so now the second option, we developed that hook to the right, so now let's use the hold to our advantage and have the hook to our right as well. So I'm going to go 4 or 5 boards to the left, and I'm going to get it to 10 around that break point and use a little bit more hand, so we'll see what happens. Look at that.
Perfect example.
Perfect.
If you set up the lanes right, that had no business striking, and I can guarantee you that would not have done that if we did not have that free hook to the right. So I just had about 3 more boards down lane than I absolutely should have had. So thank you to us breaking down the lane. From those last few couple shots, I just kept moving deeper and deeper, and I was able to still get my ball to go through the pins. So now you can see that the lane favors all kind of styles. If you want to stay straighter and like on top of the friction, if you have more speed, or if you're someone like me who throws it slower, I now can use the friction to the right and the hold in the middle of the lane.
Yeah, so obviously the point of this video was not to say don't move left, but the point of it was to break down the right and then gradually go in. So as you see your ball, you know, starting to hook, you can go that direction versus the first shot of practice, you're using a bunch of surface and you go through fourth arrow. That's gonna kind of mess up the lane for you, and you could eventually chase it left, but you'll run out of room faster. Hopefully this gives you guys, you know, something to think about when, you know, you're going to your next league event or you're going to your next tournament, that, you know, maybe I should just throw some shots to the right just to give myself something to throw it to and then bump in and do your A game. So
obviously this is a better way to preserve the lane, not only so you don't have to get as left as quick and you don't have to be in the left gutter, also so you can preserve your angles through the breakpoint and make sure that you have the best chance to carry.
yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and we'll be coming out with more content like this, and you know, we got some adventures coming up, so make sure you guys stay tuned. At 8,000 subscribers, I'm giving away an autographed bowling ball, so do that, and then we are on the road to 10,000. So I appreciate every single one of you guys. Elise does as well.
Yes.
I'll see you guys.